Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Child Anxiety Fact Podcast. My name is Dawn Friedman, and I'm the owner of Child Anxiety Support, a membership for parents of anxious kids. I have my master's in clinical counseling and additional postgraduate training in child anxiety disorders, including exposure and response prevention and the Supportive Parenting for Anxious Childhood Emotions program, or SPACE program, which was designed by Dr. Ellie Lebowitz of the Yale Child Study Center. I'm also certified in infant-toddler mental health. FACT stands for Frequently Asked Questions, and each week I'll be answering your questions about childhood and teen anxiety. Let's get started. This week's question is, how do I find time to work on my child's anxiety? And this is a question that every busy parent has to ask themselves. Thinking back to my most intense parenting years, I hear your screams, friends. Oh boy, I really appreciate how many plates you're already spinning and how fast they have to spin, especially when you're parenting an anxious child. That's the irony, right? That you're trying to figure out how to parent your anxious child, but parenting an anxious child takes up so much energy and time and bandwidth. Well, let's be frank. You're not always going to be able to find time. Most of you are already overscheduled, overbooked, and overwhelmed. It's the nature of the parenting beast. So the answer to this question is more complicated, but I hope more encouraging than just revisiting your schedule. When we think about working on our child's anxiety, it's easy to think about it as a separate curriculum, a thing you make time for, an event you schedule. But the most effective work is one that you integrate into your day-to-day life. Yes, most of us will eventually need to have a plan, a concrete step-by-step figuring out what to do next, but that's a lot easier and a lot less complicated when you have things already in place. Think of it like cooking. Cooking is easier by a lot when you do the preparation. First, you go to your recipe box or you click to your favorite cooking website. You choose what you want to make. You make a list of the ingredients. You go to the store and you get them. And then you prepare everything. You chop the onions, you wash the greens, you debone the chicken, and you get out all of your equipment. Because I forgot about the equipment. You need to have the right pans and knives and all of that. And then you cook. When you're first learning to cook, you make mistakes, like you don't know what medium high means on your stovetop, or you're still working on your knife skills. But once you've been cooking for a while, you can kind of wing it. You already know what recipes you like and that your family likes. You already know where to get the ingredients. You already know how to chop onions and wash greens. You already have an instant pot or that special skillet you need for that one recipe. You know how to make last-minute substitutions, or you know how to keep a stocked pantry. You may not need recipes, or you may have figured out how to adjust those recipes so that they best suit your family's tastes and budgets. You know which meals you can make quickly, and you know which ones to save for special occasions. You get better at it by learning and by practicing, and in some ways you need to be really deliberate, and in other ways you can just kind of play around. You maybe don't need to take a whole formal cooking class, once a week events that you block out on your calendar. Instead, you kind of learn as you go. You learn to make that one chicken dish because you really like it. And for that one chicken dish, you learn how to chop onions or you buy your first bottle of dried thyme, right? And we have to learn it if we want to be able to expand our palates beyond whatever Uber Eats or Lean Cuisine has for us. But we don't have to learn it a specific formal way. We can dip in and dip out. We can lean into it. Not that there's anything wrong with takeout or Lean Cuisine, because sometimes that's all we have time or space for. But in the long run, to save money and to eat in ways that serve us, body and soul, more and more to our preference, we're going to have to learn to cook. Managing child anxiety is like that too. Right now, you might be spending more energy on not managing the anxiety, or more specifically, managing it in ways that don't serve you or your child or your family as well. You're kind of maybe in the Uber Eats of anxiety where you're just reacting a lot. And eventually you're going to have to make a shift in how you think about it. Now, you can take cooking lessons for anxiety. You can join a program like mine or grab a book or workbook, and you can do the things. You can devote an hour every week or even more time and work your way through it. And that's great. That's one way to use my program, and that's a great way to do it. But it is not the only way to learn how to manage anxiety, and it's not the only way to use my program. Most of us are going to do it in much more messy ways, which is why I designed my program the way I did. Most of us are going to dip in and dip out. We're going to be really passionate about it, and then we're going to lose interest. We're going to join the program and grab the book, and we're going to dive in, and then we're going to set it aside. We're going to forget about it a little bit. We're going to realize, I just don't have room for it this week. Or, and this is okay, we're going to feel overwhelmed. And that guilt about feeling overwhelmed or not doing it perfect might make it even harder to return to it. Let me assure you that it's okay to be messy. And in fact, those of us who embrace the messiness, who are willing to do it imperfectly, are going to be more effective. Learning to manage our children's anxiety is lifelong learning. It's full of paradigm shifts and self-growth, and you'll need to become an expert on a lot of different topics like anxiety in general and your child's unique development, which changes, so you'll have to relearn it and relearn it. And then there are specific tools and techniques that you're going to learn to pull out at different times and in different contexts. And when your child does hit that next developmental stage, well, you might need new tools and techniques. I designed my program thinking of this messiness as a feature, not a bug. There is the asynchronous step-by-step course, Strong Kids, Strong Families. And lots of people are drawn to that because it's going to tell you what to do. And it's asynchronous so you can get it whenever and wherever you need it. But it's not the only way to learn about child anxiety. There are other opportunities inside the membership too. There's CBT Family, which are the skills and techniques to bring cognitive behavioral tools to your family. These are necessary skills your child is going to need to learn how to access, which means you need to learn how to share them. Those are things you just dip in and dip out of, really like a recipe box. You can bring those in as slowly as you like, wherever you might be in the Strong Kids, Strong Families process. So there are some people who start with Strong Kids, Strong Families. There's some people that start with CBT Family. There's some people who mess around with both. And then there are some people who basically use the membership in order to contact me directly and work with me. They ask me questions, they message me, they ask me directions. What about my particular child? What do I do in this situation? They may not use any of the courses at all at first. They're just messaging me, and that's fine. I will direct them back to wherever I think they might need help. I will kind of spoon feed the program for them. Not everybody needs that. Some people do, and it's fine. In short, I designed this as a membership and not a static course where you pay once and forget about it, because I wanted members to start thinking of it as a companion and as a commitment that is flexible, that they have agreed to. I am going to engage with this, but with an understanding that my engagement is going to fit me and my family. You do not need to have set aside time, but you do need to be willing to come by and check things out and check in with me. Then as you grow in your understanding of how anxiety works, it becomes easier to see ways to adjust things. It's a little bit like one of those meal kits, the ones that you buy in a box. You get to ease your way into cooking. A lot of it is done for you. You get to give feedback, change your order the next week. You can figure out how to make it more personalized, and eventually you take the confidence you've gained through that meal kit and you take it into your own life as a home chef. I think this metaphor works. Anyway, If you're struggling to figure out how to find time to manage your child's anxiety, I encourage you to consider just starting with learning more about anxiety. This podcast is a good place to start. Dive into some of the archives. The more you learn, the more you will know your way to go. So just keep learning. And when you're ready, join the membership and all come along for the ride. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you have a question you would like me to answer on the show, please go to childanxietysupport.com/FAQ. And if you'd like to learn more about the Child Anxiety Support membership, please go to childanxietysupport.com. The membership offers courses, live events, and community to help you design a personalized program to free your family from the trap of child anxiety. I hope you'll consider subscribing to the podcast and sharing it with any friends or family who you think might find it helpful. You can get more of my child anxiety content over at Instagram, where I'm Dawn Friedman, MSED, or on Facebook at the Child Anxiety Support page. Thanks again, and have a great week.